Hey, this is Cameron, and welcome to the practice log. Well, it's another night session, of course, so let's go ahead and get into the chair, and we'll talk about what we're gonna do today. I'll see you there. I just got back from a restaurant, and I'm pretty full. I had a burger, so I feel pretty weighed down with food right now. Do I feel like practicing? No, I kind of just feel like going to bed, but I haven't practiced today, so I think that I probably should. So we're gonna see how productive I actually am today. So that being said, I don't think today's gonna be a video one. I think I'm probably just gonna maybe talk for a bit. I haven't looked at any comments, but I'm gonna try to find one to ramble on for a little while. But yeah, I've had a good weekend. Hope you have too. I know the time frame is all messed up. You're probably seeing this in the middle of the week, but yeah, the weekends are always weird for practicing. I feel like I get really lazy on the weekends, and it's because my schedule becomes really open and I have a lot of time, and then I end up just squandering all of it. That's pretty normal for me. During the week, I'm super busy, and it seems that I'm always able to practice twice a day. So that's a thing that I'm working on right now. I would like to remain somewhat productive during the weekend, because I find that I feel better when I stay productive. The weekends are complicated for me. I like the weekdays a lot more than I like the weekends. But I also get really exhausted during the weekday, and then I look forward to the weekend, and then when it's the weekend, I'm like, I kind of want my week to start now. Weird little thing that I live in there. So I've been taking this time to answer a comment question, so let's take a look at the comments section. So this one is from Kevin Mailit. Hey, how's it going? Friend of the channel, of course. He said, hey Cameron, on a serious note. Yeah, thank God, man. Let's get serious for once. What book would you recommend for scales, arpeggios, and maybe even modes? I've been working on scales using the Segovia scales, but would like to find something for arpeggios and the different modes. Yeah, modes are a thing, right? You hear that a lot in the guitar community. I can tell you what I would do, and I've talked about this a bit. I should maybe make a video on this, though there are so many videos about this, but to be fair, there are no videos of me talking about it. I do talk about scales a little bit. Oh, actually, I do have a video about scales. It's called Approaching Scales as a Classical Guitarist. I think the first thing that you should learn, and this goes for everybody, including all of my students, they all do this, learn the 5 positions of the major scale. And if you don't know what that is, I can make another video about it. I don't care. We're gonna be repeating stuff quite a bit. There's a daily video, so stuff gets repeated. And surely I can explain it better. The 5 positions of the major scale, that's the most important thing to learn. There's so many things that come from the major scale. Basically everything comes from the major scale. And even if it doesn't, let's say an augmented arpeggio or something, it does come from a scale that looks pretty darn similar to the major scale. It's just one note different. It's harmonic minor, which you can say oh, it's 2 notes different from major. I mean one note different from natural minor, which is in the major scale. You know what I mean? And then the other one is fully diminished. The fully diminished arpeggio is also in harmonic minor. But yeah, learning those scale positions, that is the greatest starting place. And I kind of said this in a recent video, I'm pretty sure, but I don't really like any book, at least any guitar book. I don't find them particularly useful for a student. I find that the most useful part of a guitar fretboard book, or the most useful thing about them, is when you actually write them yourself to kind of solidify everything. I feel like they're only useful for the author. I could hand you, I think I have a book like that. Okay, this isn't guitar, but this is a ukulele chord book 4 or 5 years ago when I had a ukulele student. He left this in my apartment and he never came back for it. But look at this. Look at this crap. It's just pages upon pages of just different chords. Oh my god, look at how stupid this is. It starts off with an A minor 7, which is just all the open strings, and then A sharp minor 7, where you just move everything up, and then you just keep moving it. And you can see all these chord shapes just repeat. I know you can't see this. Maybe I'll post some scans of this. Yeah, we have a whole page of dominant 7th chords on the ukulele. You're looking at this and it's geez, I have to memorize all this? No, absolutely not. You learn this stuff by learning the formula for a dominant 7, which would be 1, a major third, and then a minor third, and then another minor third. Root, major, minor, minor. Major third, and then learn how to play a minor third off of that major third. You can do that or that, and then a minor third off of that. And then do the same thing. And then you can build your chords that way. So you can play a G dominant like that. You can play it 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 like that. If we want to include the 5th. And that's just in that position. You can now just as well. My fingers feel weird. Do you have to show me a chord chart for every voicing of that exact same chord that I just played? Or is it easier to just memorize major, minor, minor, and then just know how to play them? Like a lot of stuff in this book, I could condense this into 1 page, and I think maybe half a page. I mean, look at that. Like, memorize all those chords. Yeah, and then you're never gonna play ukulele again, which you shouldn't. You should play guitar, regardless. So maybe if you do play ukulele, get this book. I hate these chord books. I hate them so much, and my students always bring them to me, and I'm like, return it. I hope you kept the receipt, because we're never gonna look at that. If you don't know how to play a chord, I'm not gonna let you look it up in this book, because it's stupid. I'll just give you the formula for the chord. And that's the thing, there aren't even that many chords. I'm getting like hot right now, I'm sorry. I'm not upset at you, I'm just like making myself upset. But there aren't really that many chords. Like you have your triads, which there's only 4 of them. There's major, minor, augmented, and diminished, and then that's it. And you just learn the formula for all of them. So like root, major, minor, that's major, minor, diminished, and then augmented. And then you figure out how to play each of those chords. And that's why I'm saying I think it's way more helpful to write a book like that, because then it kind of makes you go through and like see how many different voicings of G major can you write. It's only helpful if you do it yourself. Yeah, so I don't recommend any books, and I feel the same way about scales too. This 1-page document that I'm talking about, I would probably just write out all the main scales, like major. Major would have its own thing, and then from major, you can figure out all the modes. Because when we say modes, we're just talking about different starting places of a scale. Like the pentatonic scale has 5 modes. The diatonic scale has 7 modes. So you can find all those from the major scale. And then we have our minor scales, natural, harmonic, melodic. And I would just write out a formula for all those, and then you just figure it out. And then just every kind of chord that you can play, which you have your basic triads, and then you have your extensions, which like if you play a major triad, a major 7 is an extension, and then like the major 9, 11, 13, those are all extensions. And then all the different sharps and flats on the extensions, like you've probably seen like sharp 11. That all comes from the major scale too. That's if you build a major chord on the 4th note of the scale, and you continue it 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Sharp 11 will be diatonic if you start on the 4. Start on every note of the major scale and just build your triad and then extend it all the way to the 2nd octave. You'll find all your common diatonic chords that way. I know I'm kind of rambling now, but my point is I've never used a book. The only book I've really used is just like a music theory textbook, and then like the occasional like handout that I get from my guitar teacher, like when I was in high school. Yeah, which maybe I can find those handouts. The biggest one was just the 5 positions of the major scale, because you derive everything from that. And if it doesn't derive from that, it derives from something very similar to that, and it'll just be this kind of foundation, which you can say what you will about having a foundation in the major scale. Some people are against that, like you shouldn't have a major bias. You kind of need to form biases like this though to like ground yourself in something. I think the major scale is a fine thing to ground yourself in. That's kind of what all the music we're playing is written in, for the most part. And if it's not the major scale, it's either a mode of major scale or the relative minor. You can ask me to elaborate on anything I just said, and I will. Yeah, and some other people gave you some options for book, like Rick Beato's book. I'm sure it's amazing. Rick Beato's a lot smarter than me. He's a lot better at music than I am, and I didn't recognize the other guy's name, but I'm sure his is good too. And those books will probably just say exactly what I'm saying. I would imagine that Rick Beato, he wouldn't just give you a book with a bunch of chord charts in it and just like memorize all 150 of these chord charts. He wouldn't do that. So I trust whatever Rick Beato puts out. We'll talk about it more. This is supposed to be a short rant. I don't want to make this a long rant, but we will rant about it again. So to answer your question, if you're new and you're learning the Segovia scales, first memorize those 5 major scale positions, which I have them in the Google Doc that I shared. It's under the improv section. I have it in G major. Play your Segovia scale and then see how the positions fill out all the other notes that you're skipping with the Segovia scale. Because like I've said, the Segovia scale is kind of linear. The scale positions cover every possible note that you can play, and you'll see when you look at them how they work. All right, well, you know, if you have any other questions about that, feel free to ask. I'm gonna practice now. I'll see you in the piano bench. I'm not an angry guy, I promise. I don't know. I see a lot of just needlessly hard things in music, and I feel like music is already hard enough. And the worst part is, like, I'm saying this, and I know that it seems harder than just looking at a chord chart. What I'm saying might be harder, like in the short term, but if you learn how to do it and really understand it, the possibilities are really endless. And an E minor chord is no longer an open position E minor chord. You can almost see it like you're playing a piano where it's like ba 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 ba. I don't know. The book is just so limiting. Okay, that's enough of that. As I mentioned, I haven't practiced today yet, and I'm freezing. I'm gonna turn the heat on right now. Cranking it up. All right, I'll see you on the other side. Oh, actually, there's one more thing I want to talk about. I actually recently kind of discovered this. If you are ever angry because you're getting like hot about like talking about books and stuff, have you ever tried just like hugging your guitar? It actually is really nice. When I feel anxious, it actually does a lot. It's already soothing. You should try it. Try it back at home. All right, I'll see you on the other side. Okay. I mean, like I said, we're not spending too much time on this today. So, I think I did like an hour and a half, something like that. Let me bring you closer. Let me show you what I got. So, I've been working a lot on the second movement of the Morel Sonatina. You guys ready for this? Alright, check this out. I kind of flubbed some of that. This is a practice log. This isn't a performance log, okay? I said that everything you need comes from the diatonic scales. I know that you asked about scales and modes. Learning those scale positions, it's not going to cover every kind of scale that you can have, because some scales, like the symmetrical scales, come from kind of their own thing. That's more of like post-tonal stuff, though. There are other scales that aren't related to the diatonic scale. That's all I'm trying to say. Well, yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. So, let's go ahead and go to the outro. Hey, well, you know, if you made it this far, be sure to subscribe, all that stuff. Hope I wasn't too hot in the beginning. But we cooled off in the second half with that slow movement, so, you know, it's all good. As usual, I offer guitar lessons. Look in the description if you're interested in that. I have a lot of info on that. If you have any questions about anything that I mentioned here or there, just post it in the comment section and then I'll answer that one. And remember, be sure to hug your guitar today. I think that pretty much covers everything. So, I'll see you tomorrow.